So Zodiac has a long, rich history in watches that they can pull from their archives to make watches. This is the case with most of their watches that you're going to see, including with this one. This is called the Sea-Chron or Sea chronograph. It's a automatic chronograph movement in this thing, in a watch. So with a dive bezel, of course. So that's pretty slick. Big thanks to Jon over at Exquisite Timepieces. I'll put a link down below in the description, his direct contact information, as well as a direct link for this watch, which is a pretty good deal. It's a little bit less than retail if you click on the link. Retail price is $24.95. So, and here's the hang tag. This is a ZO3604. Again, all that information will be in the description. So this is a 41 millimeter case, 42 at the bezel. 50.5 millimeter lug to lug. This is a thick boy at 17 millimeter. We can go ahead and zoom in a little bit so you can take a closer look at that. So it's a little thick, but automatic chronograph. That's kind of to be expected. 20 millimeter lug width, and then this 5-link bracelet does taper down to 18 millimeter. And then you have that wonderful, probably the only butterfly clasp that gets a pass in my book from Zodiac because of this little trick here. The spring-loaded auto adjust system on it. Just aids in comfort, and their bracelets are top-notch. They're very well done. There's a look at the case back. Although this is not technically a limited edition, this is a limited run release, they're calling it. So I'm not sure how many they're making, but they're not going to continue the run based on the information that I've looked at. And maybe that'll just depend on the sales. You know, if sales numbers are really good, maybe they do more, different colorways. I don't know. It's hard to say. But if you take a closer look at the dial on this thing, you can see it does have a sandwich dial, which is pretty slick. It's, you know, the registers are in white. That's all part of the relief. That's loomed out where the sandwich part is for the markers. You have a tachometer inside ring, and then you have this 120 click bezel with a ceramic loomed bezel insert. Very nice to operate and lines up perfectly. This does have the Sellita 510B. I had to actually verify that. I texted my buddy Michael Pearson, who works with Zodiac, is like kind of the main guy over there. And he confirmed with me that that's the movement. It's a Sellita 510B, and it has 62 hours of power reserve. And of course, you do have the screw down crown, keeping the 200 meter water resist on this thing. So you can see I have the chronograph running right now, and the sub registers keeping track. You have your running seconds over there at the 9 o'clock position, and then you have your 30-minute counter here, and then your 12-hour counter there. Is that right? Yeah, something like that. So go ahead and stop it, and then when you reset it, it just snaps right back. Very clean. Let's pop this on my 7 1/4 inch wrist so you can see what that looks like. It is obviously not sized for my wrist, but you can see it wears and looks perfect on my wrist. This is the dimensions that I ultimately prefer. You know, 41, 42 by 50, that's a good size for my wrist and for a lot of other people's wrist. The weight on it and the thickness could be a factor, but if you size it properly, it will just balance out and it'll stay fairly well put up there. It doesn't want to rotate too much. What I would tend to do in the situation, just a little tip, is go 1 link shorter on the 6 o'clock side, and that'll stop the watch from trying to rotate around like that. So if you're having that with any watches, it's more prone with the heavier watches, and that's just because of the way most of us move our arms and our bodies. The watch is going to want to rotate around there. The way to remedy that is just go 1 link shorter on the 6 o'clock side and then add it to the other side if you need to. That'll pull it back into position and not feel uncomfortable at the same time. Let's give this thing a quick blast with the UV light and then kill the studio lights. Check the lume on this thing. When you reach out to the crew at Exquisite, tell them I sent you. Get the best deal possible. Zodiac has been performing with lume at high standards for quite some time now. Some of my best loomed watches are Zodiacs. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you on the next vid.